We welcome you to this public lecture. We thank you, every one of you, for showing up because you've made this to be an extra success. Can anyone tell me the theme? What are you expecting to hear? What are we expecting to hear? We expect you to feel free. So what is the theme of our public lecture? The topic? Okay, as you are clearing your throat, I can just read it out. It's Malawi's overarching development frameworks and progress so far. So I'm sure we are all eager to listen to that and to be active listeners. So let me invite the Executive Dean of the School of Business and Economic Sciences, Dr. Rabia Hanif, to give us a few remarks. Let us clap as she comes forward.
Our guest lecturer, Dr. Jamali, Stage Manager, National Planning Commission, Associate Professor Blantyre Kandawiya, representing the Vice Chancellor and also the Executive Dean for the School of Engineering, Dr. Takama, Head of Research and Innovation at MUBAS, Associate Professor Andrew Libunga, Dr. George Zimbiri, Mrs. Mfuto Bengo, heads of academic departments in the School of Business and Economic Sciences, and all members of management and staff at MUBAS, the officiating clergy, Reverend Mbanga, invited guests, students, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. A lovely good morning to everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to today's public lecture, which will be delivered under the theme, Malawi's Overarching Development Frameworks and Progress So Far. The topic sounds exciting, isn't it? I'm delighted to have such a wonderful gathering of minds here, both in person as well as virtually. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you for taking time to be here, and your presence today is a testament of your commitment to continued learning, growth, and intellectual engagement. This lecture, delivered by Dr. Jamali, the Research Manager at the National Planning Commission, promises to be an enriching and thought-provoking experience. The National Planning Commission is mandated by the Act of Parliament to coordinate the development of long and medium-term national development plans for Malawi, as well as seeing to the implementation of those plans and coordinate the efforts of different stakeholders in achieving common objectives defined in the overall national development agenda. His coming is not by chance. His coming is designed to share with you the experiences, the insights into the developmental frameworks of Malawi. I would therefore encourage all of you to engage with the content of the lecture, reflect on the insights shared, and participate in the question and answer session that follows. I'll fail my duty if I do not provide or give my vote of thanks and appreciation to the tireless efforts of a team from the School of Business and Economic Sciences, led by Mrs. Joyce Masamba and the marketing team. This group has worked tirelessly to make this event possible. Can we give them a hand of applause? Once again, I thank you for being here I hope you enjoy the lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hanif. Can we give her another round of applause? That was very powerful coming from Dr. Hanif. She's always very powerful. Now, can we have the one representing our Vice Chancellor, that's Associate Professor Barnett Nkandawire. Yeah, taomba nimbanjazeni zeni.
Thank you so much. Let me, as I begin, recognize the guest lecturer, Dr. Andrew Jamali, the Research Manager at National Planning Commission. It's a great honor to have you in our midst. The executive deans and heads of department, in a special way, I think special recognition to the Executive Dean of School of Business and Economic Sciences who has brought us here, and also members of management at MUBAS. We have them around, invited guests, students, the media, ladies and gentlemen. There might be some other protocols that I may not have captured, but I just want to ride on what the Executive Dean of School of Business and Economic Sciences has already alluded to. A very good morning to all of you. It's quite exciting, you know. I was informed that I have to represent the VC, and then I was saying, and it was actually at a very short notice, but I said, well, what the audience will be like. But I must really be very open that your faces look very enthusiastic. And I think this is very encouraging. Our guest lecturer, Dr. Jamali, you will not regret having come here. I think you people need to actually give yourself a pat at the back. And how do you do that? A round of applause to yourself. You're looking really good. You are not intimidating at all. And that augurs so well with the spirit of this public lecture. If you look at this theme, Malawi development frameworks and progress, it's so captivating and it gives some kind of expectation. Already, when you look at it, there are certain things that are coming in. That's the beauty of the public lecture. Even before the lecturer comes in front, you already start building some kind of scenarios. You start engaging in the discourses that possibly would come. When I look at it, I can see that we have overarching development frameworks, right, and which we expect actually to hear about as the lecture comes in front. And also, there have been some progress which has been made so far. What is the aim of a public lecture? Normally, public lecturers like this one, they are meant actually to provide a platform for engagement, where you engage with the discourse that is projected by the lecture that comes in. And it's also an opportunity to challenge us in the way we are thinking, and brings in new ideas. And at the same time, it helps us actually to critically look at the way we view things. And by the end of it all, it's supposed to leave an indelible mark in the academic as well as our cultural life. So that's what is expected as we are gathered here today. I think I remember, I think in a special way, I did not really acknowledge the officiating clergy. He's always quite a wonderful person, and thank you so much, Reverend Banga, for gracing this great occasion. Yeah, so that was a bit of a digression, I think, but it was necessary that I made that recognition. So back to the public lecture. What is it that we are expecting? I think the Master of Ceremony alluded to that point to say, what is it that we are expecting? And I think the Executive Dean of the School of Business and Economic Sciences also touched on that to say there must be an expectation that we need to engage. We need actually to pick things that are coming out of the public lecture and be ready maybe to ask some questions. And the public lecture like this one is in tandem with the vision of our university. In case maybe some of you need to be reminded, what do we say in our vision? To be an inclusive, engaged, and research-intensive university. So a public lecture is able to intertwine things of engagement and actually inclusivity, because when you can't talk about overarching development frameworks without actually looking at inclusivity, without looking at the pathways that we're supposed to follow as a nation, in this case, to attain what is outlined in the Malawi 2063, that we have to be an inclusively wealthy nation. So as we're engaging, we must have in mind that this is not something that has just come, and I must commend the Executive Dean of the School of Business and Economic Sciences and the team that he chose a very captivating theme, and is just very relevant to our situation today. So as we are to receive what will be delivered or to be presented, we must bear in mind that we must not just be listeners. Some people have ever said, I've seen somewhere where somebody says somebody is a silent listener. I don't really get the sense of that. How can you be a silent listener? You need to be engaging, right? I've seen sometimes you go to people's homes, you say, this one is a silent listener. But you need actually not to be a listener, but to be somebody who is able to engage. And don't really feel shy to come forward with some questions to the one that is delivering the lecture, so that we can actually flow together, and then we can make this very meaningful. It's my hope on behalf of the Vice Chancellor that this will be a function, an event that will be taking place maybe every year. I think this is a good start and the way to go. And we commend you, Edie, and your team for the job very well done. So let this be an annual event. And let's step up our efforts to make sure that each time we have such an event, it shall be something that will be building on what was done in the previous year. When we are going to have the next public lecture, I expect that it will be building on the foundation that are going to be set today as projected by Dr. Jamali. So I encourage you, the audience, to be very attentive and make sure that whatsoever is going to come out of this public lecture is going to be the experience that we're going to live with from now going forward. The public lecture is not supposed just to be delivered and then after that we leave and go, but then it's supposed to be something we have to walk the talk that we have been motivated to walk in. So it must be something that day by day we must be reflecting on, and we must always be keeping in mind that we have to make a difference. That's what we are here for. We are not here just to get the lecture delivered, but it will be more meaningful if we carry the concepts, we carry the ideas, the discourse. We continue with the discourse wherever we go, and it should become a culture of our community as a university, but also should be able to make a mark in our beautiful nation, Malawi. So as I wind up, I just want to thank once again Dr. Jamali for for accepting to come and deliver this lecture, because it's not an easy thing. He's a very busy person, but to accept is a great honor. And indeed, in a very special way, we thank you, and we want you to be free in this community, and should be able to pour out what is at your heart. And I'm sure we're going to have a great time. And with these remarks, I would like to ask all of you to make sure that you have an anticipatory mind, and wish you a very stimulating and insightful experience in this public lecture. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. May God richly bless you.
Did I introduce myself? Oh, yeah, that was very wrong. Please forgive me. I'm Chisomo Sambakunsi, the Director of Ceremonies. So now let me invite Dr. Andrew Jamali, and we expect a huge round of applause to welcome him as he's going to give us our lecture. Dr. Jamali. Taomba ni mmanja za bwino bwino.
Thank you very much, MUBAS. Thank you so much. The representative of the Vice Chancellor of the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, Professor Nkandawire, the Executive Dean of SoBES, Dr. Rabia Hanif, Reverend Father Patrick Mbanga, who gave us the prayer and ushered us into the hands of God. Dr. Madaiso Tsakama, my good friend, we interface quite a lot, who is the research, director for the university. Madam Chisomo Sambankunsi, who is leading the proceedings of our discussions this morning. Students, members of staff, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Right, so I would like to confirm it is me. My name is Andrew Jamali, and I'm excited to be in this gathering this morning. I know that you expected to see a tall, big, muscled guy with some big biceps running all over him. Unfortunately, you have that small figure standing in front of you, but it's wonderful to see that God packages some other things in small versions like mine. So I'm so grateful that we can have this interface this evening. I will be giving a lecture on Malawi's development framework, and because I'm a short guy, I would like to jump off the stage so that I can follow the proceedings from here. Am I allowed to do so? So you remind me my old days when I was at Chancellor College, so I was somehow rude because I'm a Bachelor of Arts student who majored in the sciences and did a PhD in social statistics and demography. That's how rude I was, and I hope there are some rude guys as well who are gonna really take my record sometime in future. So this morning, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we'll discuss Malawi's development frameworks. And next slide, please. I'm sure there's someone who will be changing the slides. Great, so I'll talk about the development planning in Malawi, just in a nutshell. How has it been from the time we got independence, and I also talk about Vision 2020 within that kind of discussion, and then I'll explain the new way that Malawi has taken it with regards to its development trajectory. We will also discuss I'll skip the national development philosophy because it's quite long, but I'll just talk over it. But I'll focus a lot more on issues to do with, strategies for wealth creation, the MIP1 milestones, potential financing sources, and the progress that Malawi has made so far since we started the journey towards 2063. Next slide, please. Am I rushing too fast? Wina wanyigidwa kale ngati ndikukunyika muzindiuza kuti mutamanga kwambiri, right? So in our workspace as planners, we always get inspired by what other people have done before us, right? And I think you should be familiar with this figure of a man, Barack Obama. If you're not, I'll be surprised. So this has been the 44th president of the United States of America, and he said this: change will not what? Hello? Change will not come if we wait for some other what? Some other person or some other time. We are the ones that we've been waiting for, and we are the change that we what? We seek. If you really reflect on that kind of phrase or whatever it is, wise word, you will actually realize that our transformation is the result of our own desires and ambitions within the spaces that we're in. We could have decided to remain in the trees as black people, yeah? But someone decided to really move from the tree to get down and began to live an organized life that has culminated to you putting on those kind of dresses, specs, hats, and shorts today. So it was a decision that someone took. It was a change that was decided about themselves. And so we are a product of an evolving change that continues over the human race until it exists. Until. We are all in a context of perpetual change. Some people call it perpetual flux. What that entails is every day we are making decisions about change. Every time we're making decisions about change. Next slide. So I'll talk about the development planning process in Malawi. For some of you that could be old enough like me, I'm turning 50 this year. Hey, Mungo Shara, right, so we got independence in 1964, right? And by that time, we had just been ushered into a new lease of life as independent Malawi, and our development frameworks were actually akin to what our colonizers were using. So they didn't have what we'd call a vision like we do today. They had maybe just frameworks to guide them for maybe 5 to 10 years, and so on and so forth, right? When we got to 1994, and that is when we became a democratic Malawi, there was an attempt to stretch the kind of development frameworks from 5 to 10 years, okay? And the idea was to actually conscientize ourselves that development doesn't take place within a short space of time, at least meaningful and impactful development, right? So there was an attempt by planners within the government spaces to really come up with strategies that would stretch beyond 5 years, but actually the maximum was about 10 years. And then we had our own kind of, reasons for that. Particularly the issue was that maybe sometimes when you have a political party that's in the government, they'll run the government for 5 years, and after that maybe they fail in an election, they don't do well, another party comes in, and then they began to change whatever priorities of development the other party was actually doing. So that really kind of brought the idea that perhaps maybe we should stretch our development planning perspective towards 10 years, so that whichever party comes, they can actually ride on those kind of plans that I've already put in place. Are we together that far? Am I preaching? Bambwanga ndabusa, komano ine simbusa. Ndesi ndufuna dinzila. I want us to engage, right? Besides, I have taught before at University of Malawi Chancellor College, so I know how to engage with you guys, and I know when I'm losing you. So I'll be picking on you so that we stay engaged together, right? So in 1998, Malawi took a bold step from these kind of short-term and medium-term strategies that we were using, since the independence. By 1998, there was an idea to come up with a vision. The Bible says, there's no vision, people what? So Malawi had to come up with their own vision. And in 1998, there was an attempt to come up with a vision, and we called it Vision 2020. What that means, it's not just about the year itself, but then the vision is going to run for how many years? How many years? 20 years. So the conceptualization started in 1998, but the operationalization started in 2000, right? And it coincided with the Millennium Development Goals the anchorage of those kind of goals within the national frameworks was also emphasized, so that we don't actually embark on development without looking at the regional and the global perspectives with regards to what we want as a globe to be like. Right? So in 1998, we had Vision 2020, right? Started operationalizing in 2000. And this vision was actually having what we call short-term or medium-term strategies, right? One of which was the poverty reduction strategy. Madal Sosagama should remember, Professor Nkandawire should also remember. Okay, we used to have the poverty reduction strategy. And this was like a strategy that outlined different kind of programs government was going to embark on, finance, and operationalize so that it transforms the country to what the vision was looking at. By that time, we had a long vision. We were saying Malawi by 2020 will be religious country with good values, moral, whatever, all those flowery things that we talk about. All right? But come 2018, 2019, we had to reflect on this vision because we're actually edging out of the period itself. So there were some issues that we had noted with that vision. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Right. So from 1998 to 2020, we had experiences about how Malawi had actually grown or failed in some other respects with regards to its aspirations. And so we noted these kind of things that we had experienced over the period of the vision. One of which what we noted that the vision did not have clear milestones and tracking mechanisms. As a student, you have your own perspective, your own options that you use to track whether you're making progress or not. The lecturers and the administrators, they will have to examine you and see whether they are delivering stuff that's actually sinking in and producing the kind of expectations that we're expecting from you. So that's kind of tracking, isn't it? And finally, we come to do the final exams where you examine it, you fail. You know what happens. If you pass, you proceed to the next year and then you graduate, right? So Vision 2020 did not have clear tracking mechanisms. And for a development framework without tracking mechanisms or functional tracking mechanisms, that spoke a lot about how much seriousness we should have put in it. It means in Wina and Tamango Bangas Menagudan. By the way, are there some students that don't understand Chichewa here? Hands up. Oh, you understand Chichewa better. So I can flip through to Chichewa at some point, right? Good. So there were contexts. I'm doing that for emphasis purposes, not that cinemata jizunguya. All right? Munga cinemata. So we noted that there was the lacking of milestones. We know what milestones are. Targets, it. That's a milestone you've set for yourself, right? So we didn't have such kind of milestones in this vision. Outrightly, clearly spelled out and mentioned. So that was difficult to say, by 2020, what is it what we have actually achieved so far? By the way, people argue that Vision 2020 did not achieve as much. They say so. I have my own views about it. Actually, I disagree. Because I'm a product of what? Vision 2020. I didn't have a PhD by 1998. If there were no investments on education, science, and technology, that would actually cut it for people like me. I shouldn't have been standing here talking to you. So I'm a product of Vision 2020. Enough, I made 9 times my tradis. So there are some changes that have happened. Just and that's typical what happens in life. You can't be excellent in everything. There are some progress and traction that we made with Vision 2020. We also noted that we had inadequate national capacity, and this is something that I wanted to challenge University of, Malawi Business of Applied Science, University of Business and Applied Sciences. This is something that I wanted to challenge. When you look at Malawi 2063, do we have as a nation the capacity to deliver on that vision? I'll get to that practicality later, right? But that's something that should stick at the back of your mind. In fact, that would be a research question for you to address. In fact, an examinable question, couldn't it be? We should be thinking about this. 30 marks. In a proper final year exam, discuss, does Malawi have the capacity to deliver on this vision? 30 marks. Right? Another observation for Vision 2020 is that we didn't have proper monitoring and evaluation as well as accountability mechanism. In other words, I may ask you, having produced a report in 2020 about how Malawi has fared over the past 20 years and noted the deficiencies and the challenges that might have been associated with it, who has been taken to task for it? Who has been accountable to those kind of issues? No one. No one. So we didn't have proper trackable accountability mechanisms to take someone to task for failing to do certain things, right? We also noted that we had some lagged investments in productive sectors. No. Back to the same slide, bruh. We had lagged investments, right? And because we had some lagged investments, our productive sectors were not optimally functioning, and we were not able to generate as much revenue to support. I'm talking. To support operationalization of development interventions. If you do not have a functionally, optimally productive private sector, then obviously the revenue from government will not be as big enough, right? And what happens? Government will be forced to what? Borrow. It will borrow. Like now, what is our debt now as a country? Hello? 16 trillion. I'm excited. You guys are following these events. I'm happy. I was somewhere, I asked these kind of questions. People were just looking at me like a zombie. No? So we are now borrowing up to 16 trillion. It means we are not optimally producing as a country enough to sustain our own what? Investment demands and potential. That's something for you to be thinking about, hard about it, right? Lastly, we noted that we didn't have sufficient harmonization and synchronization of what ministries, departments, and agencies of government were doing. Yesterday I was having a meeting at Malawi School of Government where we were talking about trying to bring all these big guys in the government to talk about the mandates and policies and the interfaces and the conflicts that are existing in the development space with regards to mandates and policies. Because once that happens, it means things cannot be happening seamlessly and properly because they are in conflict. So you discover one institution has a mandate that is conflicting with another institution. And that's something that you can also... Do you have political economy or in macroeconomics? You do macroeconomics, right? Is there a course that is dealing with political economic issues? No. Think about that. That could be a research question. So you have government entities that are supposed to be operating seamlessly together, right? But they are operating in what? In conflict. Because of how the mandates and actually policies are structured. They are not talking to each other. And because of that, each one of them is operating independent of the what? Of the other. When development is an integrated what? Process. Are we together as far? For you to be where you are, there is food that has been packed in you. There are medicines that have been packed on you so that you become healthy. There is technology and innovations and all this kind of knowledge that has been packed of you to be a productive person. So it's an integrated process. And what that entails is the sectors and the policies must be speaking to what? To each other. Yeah, I'm connecting, I can see. Right, next slide. So, come 2020, we needed to come up with a new what? Vision. Like I said, we may not have sufficiently addressed all the aspirations that we had for Vision 2020, but come 2020, Malawi needed to have a new what? A new vision. And so we did an assessment, I think close to the end of 2018-19. We did an assessment to check on Vision 2020, picked up the lessons from there, and then come up with a new vision. And our new vision is called what? Come again, guys. It's called what? I heard someone saying Vision 2063. There is nothing in Malawi like Vision 2063. All right? Vision 2063 is for what? Which agency or which whatever? It's for African Union. They call it Vision 2063. Sometimes it's called Agenda 2063. So please do not confuse the nomenclature of Malawi's vision. If you do not know someone's name, very unlikely you know them better. Am I right? Hey, Timazuana Gaye Maina. So Malawi's vision is Malawi what? 2063. So Malawi 2063, what is the vision so far? What is our vision as Malawi 2063? Please don't blow it here. Dufuna Nivema students. Vision ya Malawi Dijan. My goodness. Oh. What is Malawi's vision, guys? Yes, sir. Is that a hand? Or you are waving at me? Okay, it's a hand. Yes.
So the vision is to transform Malawi into an inclusive, worthy, and self-reliant Malawi by 2063.
Excited. This is nice. We are moving towards becoming what? An inclusively wealthy and self-reliant nation. Now, because I'm coming from the institution itself, I'm going to be precise about it. An inclusively wealthy and self-reliant industrialized upper middle income economy by 2063. If you go to the document itself, that's what you see. But for the purpose of consumption, we say Malawi has to be an inclusively wealthy and what? Self-reliant country by 2063. That's our vision. Now, I interview people in various spaces, and this question comes now in an interview. And I'm honest with you, I have failed others because they couldn't spell, they couldn't recite the vision of this country. Why did I fail them? Because if you're living in this country, you should be conversant with the vision of this country because it shows where you're going. So if I'm hiring you for a job, you are contributing to vision, Malawi 20 what? Malawi 2063. So you should be conversant with it. Right? When I get to the pages, to the slide where we describe Malawi 2063, I'll ask another series of questions. And those are examinable questions. Next slide, please. Oh, before we go. So what is it that Malawi 2063 is all about? It's chartering a new path towards 2063. And as you can see, the first slide that I presented was about short-termistic approach, right? So we had strategies and policies that were running maybe 5 to 10 years, right? But this vision is running for how many years? From 2020 to 2063, how many years? 43 years. Now, what does that speak about you and me? What this vision speaks to me, I am turning 50 this year. By 2063, I'll be how old? How old will I be by 2063? 93? How many years are we now to 2063? Between now and 2063? How many years? My guy. 37? So, if it is 37, 38, actually I know it's 38. So, in 2063, I'll be how old? 80? I'll be 88. Now, what it means is this vision, where I am, my key task is to lay the foundations for it. Right? But in terms of getting it operational, who should do that? It's you guys. And that's where your active involvement in this vision is important. Very, very pivotal. In fact, at the National Planning Commission, we say Malawi's vision is a youth-centric vision. Because myself, Dr. Nkandawira, and these guys sitting up front here, will be in our advanced 70s and 80s by that time. But you guys, you'll be in your 50s, perhaps maybe 40s, and so on and so forth. So this vision speaks a lot more to you. And what does that mean? It means you need to question each and every aspect of its operationalization. Now, you cannot question that if you do not know what this vision is all about. Am I right? That's how serious it gets. And it's not only about questioning each and every aspect, but also getting yourself involved. In fact, deciding how certain things have to be run with regards to this kind of vision. That's why we call it a youth-centric vision. Right? So, we have moved away from Vision 2020, where we were talking about reducing poverty. That narrative is gone. Now we are talking about what? Wealth creation. So when you look at yourself now, even though you are poor, you should not be looking at yourself or advancing to taking out your poverty, whatever, dealing with your poverty, but how can I generate what? Wealth for myself. The courses that have to be run in universities must be oriented toward what? Wealth creation, not poverty reduction. That's a narrative shift that Malawi 2063 is bringing on the space. Next, we are moving away from survival basics to issues of what? No. I'm still talking to the same slide, sir. Right? Now, we are moving away from survival basics. Now we are talking about what? Wealth levels. By the way, those who do economic analysis, you discover that Malawi's population, a bunch of them are in the lowest wealth quintile. Kukanakhala kuchanko abandi pamene akanazunzika kwambiri. Nanga ma wealth quintile amatsata ngati. That's macroeconomics, right? So all I'm saying is we are moving away. We are trying to push the biggest fraction of the population into the middle quintile, right, of wealth. Again, we are enhancing what we call inclusivity. That's why the vision itself is talking about inclusive wealth creation. Suffice to mention that it's very, very questionable today whether people are really inclusive in the practicalities of operationalizing this vision. When we talk about, actually this is a research, not a research question, it's an examinable question. Discuss the concept of inclusivity in Malawi 2063, examining its practicalities by giving relevant examples. Nanga. I'm in the fourth year. This is the question I'm going to ask. Besides, right? Besides, those that are doing dissertations, that's the cheapest way of doing a dissertation. You're just looking at the practicality of inclusivity in Malawi 2063. How practical is it? That's a dissertation in itself. Right? Again, you will note that I talked about Vision 2020, that most of the government departments and agencies were doing things in what we call siloed approach. What is a silo? Without an integration. That's something that we are running away from. Now, in Malawi 2063, we are emphasizing what? Integrated development operationalization. I'll speak to that when I get to the structure of the vision itself. Next slide, sir. So, now that we have changed from the perspective and perception of Vision 2020, we are now talking about Malawi 2063. Commander is a presentation here, I can still go ahead. Now that we have changed from Vision 2020, we are now in Malawi what? 2063, the rhythm must what? Change. Nanga nyimbo ya namadingo ina yake wina kuimba sozina lula kuimba ina zigwirizana ngati mavindu yakakolofana ngati. No, unless if the beat is the same. And if the beat is the same, it means there's nothing that we are changing. But now we have changed the rhythm and the beat. Now, what is it that we are changing? Next slide, please. Malawi's vision has got what we call aspirations. Right? Zimene tukuzifuna titazaziona by 2063. So again, you would see that the first aspiration is basically the vision itself, right? An inclusively wealth and self-reliant, industrialized, upper middle income country by 2063. Now, what does that mean, right? What does that mean? It means Malawi must make sure that it has a vibrant knowledge-based what? Economy. That's aspiration number 2. So we want our economy to be knowledge-based. What does that mean? It should be propelled by what? Science, technology, and innovations in the productive sectors. And which ones are these? There's agriculture, there is mining, as well as tourism. Those are the key productive sectors that we're looking at. When we say that we want to create a knowledge-based economy, it means every decision, every conceptualization of an intervention for development must be governed and grounded on what? Science, technology, and what? Innovation. Quite ambitious, isn't it? Quite ambitious, right? And that ambition is what we are giving you guys, because we are saying this vision is whose? Is yours. And where it starts is now, when you are studying, to think what kind of innovation, what kind of technology, what kind of science should ground any perspective that is being put in place there as an intervention to be operationalized in the vision. Am I connecting with you guys? Right? The next aspiration is about having world-class urban centers and tourism hubs, right? With requisite socioeconomic amenities for high quality. And this has to be with ICT, right? It has to be transport, it has to be with energy, all those kind of things. I mean, tourists will be coming here and say, what is happening? What is this circus now? And you guys can't even do a study. You're going to examine how are they disturbing the macroeconomic dynamics of the economy within Blantyre City. Just looking at that. And so on and so forth. That's something for you to examine and check. And write pieces in paper, in newspapers about those kinds of things, giving your own opinions. Because we want to come up with something that is innovative to change our urban centers and grow them to become competitive tourism hubs. That's what Malawi 2060 is looking at. Right? Am I preaching? Ndamba kulalikire? Sindibanga malili meya. Kumandizi ngone sasa kuti tisatayane. Right? The next one is about having a united, peaceful, patriotic, and proud people that believe in their own what? Abilities. Now apopo united zulo kumaenda anthu ena in town watu kulilongweko. Ata nyamula zawo zopyeza anthu. I mean, that already speaks contrary to what? To what we want as a vision. I won't go deeper into that. You and I know better about that, right? And we're talking about having effective governance systems. How many governance systems have failed? over the past years. Ndichita kumazichula ngati simukuziziwa tikati governance systems ndi ma office aboma amene amapanga provide public what services, right? Be it transport, communications, izinazo sindizichula, they are sensitive. You know what I mean? Nanga ndizinena ngati zama passport ndinene ngati sindinena zimene zozo ya. But have they been efficient? Have they been optimal in terms of delivery? Are they pointing us to the vision that Malawi has? And you guys have to be asking those questions, because I'm restricted. I'm a researcher, yes, but I work in the government space. There are some restrictions about it. At Rankani is this in the lecture room. Please. It's for lecture room, and we are practicing academic. It's for references. So please take note of that, right? So, but you guys have got that academic freedom to write freely about this, critique them, and offer solutions. The other challenge that Malawi has is we lament too much. And we don't offer practical solutions to be done. Muone ma social media. Come up with solutions, go. And we are talking about Malawi 2063. Right? Again, we are looking at a high-performing and professional public service, right? A dynamic and vibrant public sector. How many companies are listed on Malawi Stock Exchange market? How many? 16. 16, see, is that enough? Is that a vibrant private sector? And we are waiting for you guys to come up with your own companies, coming from MUBAS. And we put them, not also on Malawi, like Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Yaku Johnny, ndikumapangana compete. Even the American Stock Exchange man. FTSE, JST. Mukutia, Elon Musk anabadi wakutiko. Where is this company listed? Don't limit yourself. Do not. I want to stress this one. They are is what makes us be what we are today. They what? It's they are. Because what they are is based on what you see. But a vision is not what you want. It's what you are in future. So maintain they are. And we'll still be seeing the Gabazas right in the offices. That's Zaima Magondama office very soon. Because of the ask. Let us think big and be innovative. Because where we want to go is not capsulated by the ask. Right? Again, we're looking at a globally competitive and highly motivated human resource. Find out what kind of jobs they are working on. A lot of them, they are menial jobs. Household jobs, maybe in my nursing homes, and I did that when I was doing my PhD. But we are talking about a globally competitive human what? Human resource. Look at what the Chinese are doing in terms of technology. South Korea itself, Google, check. They have dominated the world. The Asian tigers, Korea, Malaysia, and the like. Globally competitive, technologically innovative, oriented human resource. In your phone, you don't even know how to fix it. Basic stuff. My other friend 2 days ago, phone again has a internet. Mobile data, right? Tinadwala toset. Mpaka kupita kwa yate. But these are things you can fix by yourself. Just go over YouTube, call you my settings out in internet mind a bunch. Fix, plug the numbers there, and you're done. We are not globally what? Competitive. That's why our jobs are so menial, and that is not pushing us to where Malawi wants to be. Next slide, please. I've stayed too long on this one. So, Malawi 2063 is structured in two. It's got enablers and pillars. If this building is to collapse, what the engineers will first begin to analyze are the what? The pillars. Right? The pillars. So for Malawi 2063, we've got 3 pillars. The first pillar is what? Agriculture, productivity, and what? Commercialization. We have to make our agriculture productive and highly commercialized. I want to touch some raw nerves about that, but there are processes that should make Malawi's agriculture highly competitive. It's not what we may be doing as at now, but we can do better, right? That's why there's talk about mega farms, there's talk about technology, irrigation system, climate smart agriculture. It's basically to optimize productivity of the sector. If you go to Malawi's vision, the vision document, you see anchor farms. Anchor farms are a version of mega farms. The implementation is what we must all question to say, is this going to lead us to where we want to be? And advise. Because it's not a matter of putting questions, but also what? Advising how it should be done. Right? Industrialization. So if you look at Malawi, it's even importing. 2 weeks ago, I think the Minister of Trade, is it 2 weeks or a week ago, Minister of Trade has produced a list of commodities that should not be what? Imported from, guys, for my, toothpicks importing. That economy shouldn't be doing that. There are a lot, even my juices are imported. We've got our own juices, we've got plenty of land, we can actually get into extensive farming yamajan, my fruits in Kumabanga produce my juices. We used to have mulanje canning factory some time back with good mulanje squash. Orange squash. Ugadwala akangokupasa orange squash. Sinamalize ndamaliza ngati. Right? The next one is urbanization. So I've talked about urbanization already in the previous slide. Our urban structures, my building, we cannot move an inch to the vision if those kind of buildings still remain like that. Panosima Banga architecture. Now there's a challenge for you architects and quantity surveyors. The challenge is climate. How resilient are current structures to the changes in the climatic space? And that's a job that you guys must do. They'll build high-rise buildings in water. What about Malawi, guys? We have the whole lake running from the north to the south. But that's the technology that you should be looking at. Our tourism will not be vibrant if you are not innovative enough like that. Right? Now, in terms of enablers, first enabler is what? Hello? Guys, I'm talking to you. Hello? Mindset change. And what that means is I'm not picking on him, but it is taking away the spirit of take out the spirit of what? I'll be honest with you. In the next 20 years, I'm not a prophet, neither do I want to be one. Millionaires, billionaires. Matamangira kuvomereza emeni. Komano zopangisa kuti mufike pamene popozo simatani? Simajitai. Do you know kuti munomo muli billionaires? I'll be honest with you. 20 years ago, I was in college. Is it 20-something years ago? I was in college. Panova, you cannot touch them. They have just gone. Alipatali, they got plenty of money. Alinima company, they're running big companies right here in Malawi, making billions. Akamata upita ku holiday, siku America, so yama kakapa levitation space ku Dubai. 20 years ago, barely 20 years. So musapwegese space here. Musaitani, musapwegese. But I'll tell you again, there will be people that will be filing bankruptcy here if you are not careful. Aza kulisa nyumba zao. Kusala bangono sondiana omwe. It all takes on the vision. If you ride on this vision, the vision is inclusive wealth creation. It is inclusive. It means it includes who? You and me. The issue is, how do I create wealth within this train? Katimwa train imineta kwa ya Malawi 2063. How do I create wealth? Sindi kunena kuti muzidibera makompyuta mukabwera for internship. That's not the way to create wealth. Chifamu mumma hasula heavy mukabwera ma office musu. Mukuti zunza kwa basi. That's not the way to create wealth. But as a young person, already think, can I create an economic think tank from my discipline and run a consultancy? From that consultancy, emerge with something that goes into this kind of space. Ndipo invest in this. Do you know some guys are investing on Ujene? My treasury bills right at your level. Do you know that? Imagine you start doing that now. By the time you are striking 10 years, your worth might be even 10, 15 million on those kind of things. Kugula ma shares. Timangova masha inesina guli, of course, komandigu. But the point I'm driving at is start playing it now. The vision starts when? Now. Next slide. Mindset change. Next one is effective governance system. So I've talked already about governance systems. My offices are they running optimally? Are they serving the interest and the vision of the country? Talk about ombudsman, anti-corruption bureau, immigration, police, even National Planning Commission in many. Question it. Are they living and operating according to their mandate? That's what we should be asking ourselves, right? Next one is enhanced public sector form. I talked about private sector dynamism. Pastor Kalima company 16 no company budget. Put up your company at the age of 18. Pastor stock exchange market budget. Put up there. It's possible. Simon, what I mean? Human capital development. The whole reason why the government of Malawi is busy investing in you guys is to build the human capital in you. So that by the time you're walking into that building, signing a business deal, whoever is sitting on the other end must know this guy is well conversant with the issues at hand. We are investing in mining as a country. Are we getting the proper deals? I don't know. You should actually find out. How much transformation did Nigeria make to the economy? Now it's back. There should be lessons learned. And you guys must follow those issues and be able to critique, because that's part of your business. That's the academy. Question those things. How are they applying in the space? What is the beneficiation for the Malawian in this kind of investments? Then we'll be talking the vision. Did you know anyway? Issues to do with economic infrastructure. Look at my bridge. And yet we have the whole university that is specializing in architecture, quantity surveying, and where are you guys, by the way, when these things are happening? Where are you? We want to see more of these here, and they are coming from you. My projects are my department. Don't belittle those things. You can patent those things, trademark them, and make money out of that. Even when you are a student. There are no limits, by the way. I'm actually pricking you so that you feel pain to say I'm not doing enough. Because I also feel, Zagas in this 50 years in the but Kellogg, you know Kellogg, Simajas Maujan is my conflicts, Kellogg is. Do you know when he started doing those things? At what age? Check. If I'm not mistaken, I think I'm 55 somewhere there. So it's not too late to start living the vision of Malawi to create wealth for yourself. By the way, tikapanda kuphunzira ifeyo tikakhala mphawi anathusa zakhala chani kodi amphawi. That's the danger. That is the danger. Next slide. Environmental sustainability. You can actually see we need to manage our environment carefully. Check panova misinje igama pita madziwa akumakhalakhala ya mtundwa. Hello? Dotiro kaloko. Akumakhala chani? Dotiro kuchokera kutiko. It's actually your farms. Minda imene mukulima cha dotiri kutani and dotiri kupita ndekuti chinyonthoso cha nthaka chikutani kuti. What technologies should we put in place? What innovations of managing our environment should we put in place as we are pushing towards Malawi 2063? Those are the questions. Next slide, please. Oh, it's this one, eh? So, yeah, mwandifika kwa nsanga huku. Tabwelera niso pangono. Okay, next slide, yeah. So, what are the key strategies that we think wealth creation can be guaranteed? The first one is agriculture commercialization. So already I'm actually worried to hear Zulonamba kunena kuti as we speak, tough as this season might have been for farmers, maujen mamido mena ambakali kumagula chimanga chili munda. Have you heard about that? Is there commercialization there? Question these things, guys. Critique these things. What laws are there to safeguard these kind of practices? Why are we leaving these middlemen just fly around in the economy without controls? If we are really going to trigger some kind of transformation in the economy space, right? So we are looking at commercialization, right? And again, we need to have structured markets. You know what a structured market is? So for specific products, sikuti panova mutango tenga jamba anani not yambe kulima jamba it. Can you just take jamba jakuchipitisa pansi kumagulisa? No, there has to be an organized way of selling it. If it's industrial hemp, pakuneka bakaya structured market for that. So Malawi needs to organize and introduce. They're already making progress towards that. Introducing structured markets for various kind of value chains like cotton seed, things to do with industrial hemp itself, oil seeds. These strategic agriculture products and mining products must have specific markets so that someone should not just come and say munda ndaugula gali. Zimachitika kuti zimenezo. Munda waini ukanenera waugula gali. Waugula kuti chani? We need to put in controls for these kind of things. And it's you academics reading the vision. And it's not wrong because you are reflecting on the vision and applying the contextual aspects associated with the practicality to say, is this happening? Because if it's not happening, who is going to bear the price? You. If it's a coming at Amwalira Tapita, that's the danger. Ndepa jamano lati pita ku Canada ndemwe mumva Trump simana lati pita ku Canada tipita simamumva zimene wana Trump. This is your country, build it. The Americans built their country from the scratch to what it is today. Don't disrupt it for them, build your own. Next slide please. Industrialization. So we are saying that we are going into special economic zones. Chigumula is one of the places in the country that was earmarked to become a special economic. You know what a special economic zone is, Magai economics. Yeah, okay, this is a lecture. A special economic zone in Imanongati, Tingorex Blantyre CBD can have its own business regulatory aspects, specialized types of business, capital investments, and stuff special. No. Kupanga designate an area which will have a special economic amenity and create it as a special economic hub within that particular space. They can regulations zake, proper investments potential zake, financing zake. So we are looking at those kind of things to be created in the country because they will generate wealth. People will have businesses, they will be employed in such kind of spaces, and right? Issues to do with purpose function vehicles. So things like Export Development Fund, Malawi Agriculture, Industrial Investment Corporation, my organization, they are actually special purpose vehicles for development. In other words, they are targeting specific value chains, specific investments that should be augmented to bring back the economy into shape and augment it for productivity. All right? Again, we are talking about issues to do with what? Taking away the burdensome regulations, curtailing corruption, and creating Malawi as the best investment destination. I'm not so sure in terms of ease of doing business ranking. What is the position of Malawi now? I'm at the University of Business and Applied Sciences. What is our ranking in terms of ease of doing business as a country? Magai, is easy in this and you fail on this, you say, where were you, by the way? I was at MUBAS. No. MUBAS is a business institution. This is a business question. You should be able to provide a business response to it. So no ways to run away from it. In other words, let me tell you, you should not get only locked up in academics. Follow up what is happening in the what? In the horizon. And be well knowledgeable. Yeah. As a student, you are not only learning from the classroom lectures. No. You are learning from everything. You come out, you see the sky, you say, oh my goodness, who has actually anchored these clouds in the sky like this? There must be some special guy somewhere. I need to question who this guy is and find out where he lives. That's the kind of mindset we should have. A questioning mind. Elon Musk waguza nurafuna mangeja nbosela bomba. Afuna pita agaigeja. What is the next project for Elon Musk? They want to make the space a habitable place like Earth. Do you know what these guys are thinking? I'll tell you. They know Guti, at the level we are going, ziko linolola pansi linolipanga explode. Lipanga explode. Anthu animanyukira weapons kunja kunet. Banji wina akatangozuka ndi misala yake ndikuchipulisa chimenecho. So these guys are already saying in the event something like this happens, we are going to find ourselves a safe what? Haven somewhere. Miles away from what we are thinking. Next slide. Urbanization. So I've talked about urbanization, making sure that we are creating, by the way, as a country, as a council in Malawi, do you know that Blantyre City Council can have its own specific laws that are investment friendly, attracting not only local investors but even international what? International investors. You need to tease out on these kind of things, right? There's a Department of Urban Planning here. Siri Wenak, Urban Planning Chanchan, Department of Chanchan, Kuli Gilbert Jirinde, my friend. Those are the things. Tease out these kind of things. In terms of urban development, Blantyre City, as we are looking up to the vision. The creation of secondary cities. Do you know that Malawi is aiming at creating secondary cities? Have you ever heard about that? You don't read newspapers. Malawi wants to have secondary cities. In other words, to take away the pressure and expand the kind of investments that are in the 4 cities. By the way, Zomba is still a city? Okay. I was just asking for checking. So, we want to expand the investment potential of Blantyre, Zomba, and Ituzu to other areas so that they can become what? Cities as well. One of them, Karonga, Mangochi, Luchenza, Bangula, Mufufuze zinazo mugawenga bagugu. So the issue is If Malawi, strategic thinking, you read? If Malawi is planning to have a secondary city in Luchenza, right? And I come from Luchenza, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? I should be the greatest investor in that area. And the thinking starts now. So I go to Luchenza and look at the investment portfolio, secondary city for Luchenza. Look at what are the potential macroeconomic amenities that are existing in Luchenza and begin to prime myself, organize myself for those kind of investments. So that in 20 years to come, Agamano there's Luchenza Chanchani 5-star hotel. Is that kind of good? Yeah, that's the thinking, you guys. The news here. Right? Next slide. So, we have this vision, we have these enablers, we have all these ambitions that we've talked about. How are we getting them operationalized? It's too much, I'm almost getting to the close, don't worry. So, how are we getting this vision operationalized? Next slide, please. So, we have the first 10-year implementation plan 1. How many have ever heard this document, about this document? MIP 1. Do you know it? MIP 1? No, guys, don't shock me. You've never heard about this? How many have never heard about this? Never, and good never. Hands up. Aye. 4th year students, hands up. Makai, I'm concerned. Guys, this is a real business. We cannot be delivering whatever education, whatever technical, whatever, outside the ambit of Malawi's development blueprint and how it is being operationalized. Because each and every discipline is contributing and servicing the needs of that ambition. So mugama afusa mafuso mafana mafuso ena uma afusa ndi atio awawa. Ngati mfana student alikumbali ya economic development or akupanga business. The question is you ask, with regards to Malawi's first 10-year implementation plan 1, how do you assess Malawi's business climate and the opportunities lying ahead to achieve Malawi 2063? That's a research question. That's an examinable question. It will make this guy to research. It will make fine. But the point I'm driving at is we have a vision, and for a vision, after a vision, we need to have an operational plan for that vision. That is the operational plan. That's why it's called the first 10-year implementation plan 1. Why 10 years? Malawi's vision is for how many years? Hello? For how many years? We cannot just wait up until 40 years to start getting things done or to see things or to monitor or evaluate things. We need to be taking these ambitions in blocks of periods. So it is blocked in 10-year what? Implementation period. The first 10-year implementation period started in 2021 and is ending when? 2030. And is pursuing 2 key milestones. 1, to graduate the economy to become a lower middle income economy. That is the GDP per capita of how much? $1,036. Meaning to say, by 2030, our target was ndrama ya wina yese mawe munomo yedusa ntumba mwake isamaje pere $1,036. That's what it means. It's because we are not doing what? Enough about it. And there is evidence for that. The second milestones, we signed up to the Sustainable Development Goals. We said we are going to meet most of the Sustainable Development. We didn't want to commit how many. We just said most. We were political about it. All right? Knowing good is in the Chidos as well. So these are the 2 key milestones that the first plan operationalizing Malawi's vision is actually servicing. And I'm surprised that you guys don't know these things. Really surprised. Because when you come with your distinction paper and we ask you these things that are applicable to the world and apply your discipline to these things, you fail, we will not hire you. Period. And if I'm sitting on that panel, I'm going to make reference to this public lecture. And I'll recognize some of these faces. Next slide. So, what are the key financing options that we are actually pursuing with this particular implementation plan? We will be using funding from private-public partnership. Public-private partnerships. So we partner with government organizations and private sector to influence certain projects. Mwina mauje na jajine fichile vale transformation aja, we could go into public-private partnership. Nima kampani zina haki. Mapanga madeal nima kampani amenu loke. Timangire ni chichi, chikasamba kupanga generating drama over this period. Mutenga drama zanu koma beyond this period, government takes back the ownership. You know, so there are strategic investments. There could be investments in energy, investments in irrigation infrastructure, tourism, ICT, and the like. But there are PPPs. Okay. Another one is blended financing. My explanations again, we can take any combination of financing sources that could be right. Again, development partners that are there. Again, the problem with development partners, they'll tell you if you are interested to work in this space when our priorities are in a different space. That's why we have to work on building a lot more of productivity of our economy to generate finances for our own investment, interventions. Corporate social responsibilities. Beyond feeding people, let's talk about infrastructure development because that's what is now the lever for economic growth. We will give people chimanga and we know where that ends, right? But when we give people a bridge, we know that we have facilitated what? Trade. People connect and do business and generate more money and wealth, right? We talk about contracting. Government can subcontract certain projects with other organizations. By the way, guys, sprint up so that you can actually become one of the contractees for some of the government projects in future. And then there's collateralizing. Zambia, they did collateralizing, research about it, find out about it. So when you're doing collateral, you don't collateral your child on it because that's a human being. But we can go into those kind of things. We can go into grants. There are big companies, big organizations out there that are granting, various kind of, resources to support infrastructure development for economic growth. Maloni, Malawi, World Bank, all those kind of things. They are meant to service infrastructure. The question is, looking at, if I were to teach you macroeconomics, I would be asking this question. Looking at the financing options for Malawi Implementation 1, can you evaluate these financing options with regards to Malawi's political and economic landscape? 30 marks. Next question. Next slide. Next question. You can't question me. Next slide. Right. So, what has been the progress so far in terms of MIP 1? So, progress here too has not been that good, but we can attest to over 40% of projects that we had lined up are on track. Zina and bigger. So we are edging towards 50%. But now that we are talking about 2025, and we only got how many years to go before 2030? 5 years. Is that good enough? No. We should have been talking about 80% of the projects on track and promising enough to bear the what? The fruits. So it means we're not doing right? Again, if you look at the other shades, the red one, it means 13%. These projects have not started. So you're talking about almost 13% of the projects that we had earmarked for this MIP 1, they have not been started. And then the question that you should ask is, why are these projects not started? Who is sitting on them? How can we make them accountable on that? That's the question academics should be asking. And I'm not talking only to you students, I'm talking about even to lecturers, to staff. These are research questions. Looking at the performance of Malawi 2063 First Year Implementation Plan 1, there is this kind of a chart. Can you examine the factors that are leading to this kind of context and propose the options to address these kind of challenges? PhD topic. Right? Next slide. So, now the 44% are on track. Next one. 13% of the interventions not yet started, or there's no proof of commencement. And that is National Planning Commission must actually look at why have these projects not started. Right? Next slide. So this slide is too cumbersome to look at, but it's just showing how much progress has been made on the enablers and pillars of Malawi 2063 in terms of its operationalization. So I won't go into details. I'll share this slide. I'll share this presentation for you to go. But you can see that for some other enablers, you discover this one is not visible good enough for people like me in their 50s. Let me go here. Yeah? You discover that for environmental sustainability, we've only completed 5 years down the line, we have only completed 5% of the projects. 95% we can't account for. Issues to do with human capital development, we're still reeling. My projects in Sanayam. We talk about mindset change, 8% zimeweza kala completed. Zinazo muziona menezibone ground. There's a lot that we need to do. And the question is, you guys should help us to say, you know what, if you are to do this intervention better, this is how we think about it. Because theory yakuti, model imene napanga yakuti, ikundionesa tikapanga ABCD, it's going to result into this kind of an outcome. Therefore, target it pangamiti within this specified period of time. That's the kind of analysis. My project mapanga no panga project. Zintu zange ndizimene zizi. Next slide. Now, we committed in the key milestones, we committed to do 1, graduate the economy into a lower income economy. 2, to meet most of the sustainable development goals. Now, there are 17 SDGs. Where you see red, it means we are not doing well. So we are not doing well with regards to poverty, because now we are almost 60-something% poor people in Malawi. Yeah? Out of 21 million, 60% of them, over 60%, they are actually classified by poor, as poor. If you go to World Bank, they are magogomeza taumaguzan 8 years. So it's not ngakale mwavala maglasi ngati neyo ndinodani. Wasa mazipopa. Ndiwe mphawi basi. Kaya vala suti wewe, you are classified under that category. Right? So issues to do with, managing issues to do with what? Reducing inequality. As long as you have 60% of the population that is poor, it means inequality is even messy. It's completely messy, right? Issues to do with decent work. Very few of us can actually call ourselves having decent work. So, progress towards sustainable development goals is also not encouraging. Of course, we've done fairly well. The Greens, life on water, life below water, we're doing well in terms of environmental conservation. We're also doing well in terms of health, health and well-being. We are fairly doing well, okay? Despite the pullout of USAID, there's no collapse of the health system. Although people have argued about no collapse. My guy, good health system doesn't collapse. But we are still surviving. So there's a lot more that we need to do with regards to sustainable development goals, because we are not even doing better, and much more now that we have got 5 years to go towards 2030. And the question is, why are we having this kind of problem? Yes, COVID, the economy that's not performing optimally, and so on and so forth. The question is, what can we do better? How do we lay political economists, our andalewa, amina makandi mphamvu zachitukukowa, kuti apange invest a lot in these kind of areas that we are falling short. Next slide, please. Next slide. Right, so most of the challenges that we have noted leading to this kind of performance are related to these kind of issues. There could be many, right? There could be many challenges. Actually, there are many challenges. But we've noted that there is persistent exogenous shock. This country doesn't have a proper and well-anchored macroeconomic base. So much so that every shock, we fall down. So there have been these persistent shocks, latest of which we had cyclone what? Jude, isn't it? The resources that should have meant for productivity now are going for relief and rehabilitation of those kind of spaces. Ndenanu as go gwanu ta nena kalikali chokani umuma za madusa nthawi zonse mungokoloka samamva yayi. Mpaka umachita kuti ife tichoke pano pa chifukwa chani. Sitingachoke pano pa chifukwa chithandizo chafe chimabwera mvula ikabwera kumene. Cyclone yabwera akabwera ndi kuti kubwera chimanga. I mean, what kind of mindset is that? As go gwanu ta amene. Ndiye kuti mwana mbuma cheso chani ndapitiriza ngati. So other challenges have been to do with macroeconomic instability. The pullout of the USAID yapangakala affect forex reserve in some way, right? Issues to do with implementation deficiencies and capacities. Kungopezeka kuti mboma mumuli anthu ena kuti ntchito safuna kutani kodi gwira. They know kuti ndikafika ndikuyeneka ndipange ABCD just like you do. You know what about the target ABCD kind of things. You get to the text, you're just playing on social media and the like. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. By the time we realize 4 o'clock, it's there in the system as well. And we need to do away with such kind of things. Because right? Issues to do with what? Corrosive impacts of corruption. Nkhope tundinena zokuti zikuchita nawo ndithu ana skulu ena mukumapezeka nditi masimu khadi tili mbwe kumapangana link ni magari pantunda apa college ili pantunda paja kumaomba dola maujeni. It won't work, guys. You are creating your own road of a country. Ndewo muthamu mupite ku America muzikapanga so ziliza somwezo. Next slide. Ndasala pang'ono. So looking at where we sit, the challenges that we have made so far, there is need for us to put gas on the what? Pedal. We need to accelerate. Why do we have to accelerate? How we are. Komanso zimene zikuoneka sizili impressive enough that we are hitting the targets by 2030. So how do we accelerate? You've ever heard, next slide, you've ever heard about ATM strategy, right? You've ever heard about ATM strategy, right? Agriculture, tourism, and what? Mining. But we are saying we should not only do agriculture, tourism, and mining, we should also do what? Manufacturing. Because manufacturing gives you value addition. To say we have value additions of our parents. Am I not right? Yeah, not many of us in a matalanga kutumaone panopa nthawi imeneyo amavazigamba. But today no. Ineyo nsafari chani kodi. So we need to value add the economy. Osamango tu sajimanga jija, sell it right in the garden as raw as it is. Make pops. Make these eugenism, cornflakes, break. Actually, Mesa's got many value chains, if not 9 value chains. Animal feed, chan, beef. But we are selling it right in the field. Why? So you are thinking just about today. Mindset. Right? So we need an accelerator. So these curves are just trajectories. Next slide, please. They're just trajectories that are showing that in a business as usual mode, where Malawi is growing below 4%, we can only achieve the middle income country level by 20 what? Hello, 20 what? Ndekutita kwanisa 2030, actually 15 years beyond 2030. Pakali panova economy vene kwendeka. We can only achieve the lower middle income economy target by 2045. Next. But if we are to grow at 6 to 9% using the ATM strategy, go ahead. Next slide. We will try to get there. We will miss the middle income economic target time-wise by 4 years only. Fairly okay. But look at our economy. It's growing below 4% as we speak. In fact, the projections for this year, they're still reeling below 3%. I know World Bank in say 4%, but there has to be really tremendous impetus in the economy for us to grow at 4%. Right? Next slide. Next slide. So if we are to use agriculture, tourism, mining, and manufacturing and grow at above 10%, then we can talk, next slide, we can talk at Malawi become a lower middle income economy by 2030. That's what our analysis shows. Now, my guy, I'm in Mapanga economics, you know that 10% growth ya GDP, Sibano ya. Sibano. Now, are we just crazy to talk about 10%? No, we're not. In any manner, better be closer to the target than be what? Further. So let's say, if we are to hit this target, this is the margin that we should go. And our impetus are to drive towards what? To the margin. Even if we fall 2 percentage points, we are even closer. Are just on the margin. And then these guys will say, no, just let her go. Koma amene ali kumasate chakuti kuti unkoka afike 50 iweyo sochita kuti ukathukuta ngati kwanu kamakunyamulisa ngoloto. So let's push to what could be closer to the target itself. That's what we should do. Because I know traditional countries like China, Indonesia, they have done their growth, but to go to 10% is a massive ask. But modeling tells us if you are really to strike this target of an economy, then you must grow at 10%. So we may not hit it by 2030, but if we move closer to 2034, we are not worse off. So let's work towards those kind of things. Are we together that far? Next slide. So it means we have to do business unusual, focusing on agriculture, tourism, and mining, as well as manufacturing. Next bullet. Okay? And what that entails is we need to to capacitate the relevant coordinating MDAs. So my parastatals are to, you read papers, you discover water board has made losses. My guy, how can you guys make loss from a resource that everyone needs? We cannot survive without water. It means you are in business for what? Forever. You can put the markup or your price and you're posting losses. No, we shouldn't, guys. To grease on it, it's in some lecture. But all I'm saying is practically our parastatals are posting losses. And you know what happens when they post losses? Who should come to bail them out? Government must take the money that should have been meant for investment to bail these guys out, to put them in business. That's what is happening. We cannot hit the target with that. Next slide. Okay. Again, we must learn to align the budget to the MIP1 priorities. One of the things that MIP1 and Malawi 2063 is trying to avoid is podium projects. You understand what I'm talking about, eh? Some guy, yes, they can make those political pronouncements, but those should be within the ambit of the what? Of the plan. Other than that, we are doing something contrary. So, to do that, in 2025, Zipani Zigamavanga contest per 16, per 16, eh? Is it 16 or 25? 16 September Zigamavanga contest, each political party manifesto will have demonstrated and been certified to have aligned itself to Malawi 2063 and MIP1 aspirations. So that Agazalo and Boma, when they are doing something contrary, will say, come on, this is what you say. You committed to this, and it is a legal matter. Because the vision is insulated. You know the vision is a legal document, eh? Yeah. So anyone doing contrary to the vision can be taken to task about. Whether you're a public servant or you're what, you should be taken to task for it. Because Malawi has to do business and unusual. Next. We continue to engage to make sure that we have macroeconomic stability. Trade for 4,000. Kena kumawa hii auti ya figure 7. Kena hii ya guria super 2,000. My economist mbwe. Kumubasi kumajita in economics. So where are we getting wrong? Because we have a pool of experts in the space. We need to get rid of those kind of things, right? Making sure we're making strategic investment with investors. My investors are kamabwera, don't give them too much leverage over your resources, guys. The only thing that Malawians have is their own what? Country. They lose leverage over their own resources, this country goes to the drain. So as a government, as a people, as young people, Mugamayangana, make sure where your feet stamps, the Lord says, where your foot places, that's where the land of what? That's what I've given you. Sana Musa Joshua John, I'm a Christian, sorry. Where your footprints goes, that's the space I've given you. And God has given us this country with a lake, plenty of waters running all year round from the north to the south, and we are still hungry. Hey, anyamata tandizeni, zikutifuta. Let's do something better about it. Right? Accelerate implementation of catalytic interventions, the sheer transformation, green build authorities, is turning ninja, and then produce more for exports. Right? If they are not functionally optimizing their whatever, let's get into them and say, guys, what is the problem? How do we help? Because we need this country to move away from that. Next slide. Building economic and social resilience. Tikangokuma na nema shocks, ali senkaningo kaya ma shocks basa. Aba sitichita chakuti chifa kunabwera cycle. Kunabwera COVID, nkondo ya Ukraine. Taine na nina. Ameni wawa. Ndiregeze pompo. Next slide. So, I'm giving you this reflection. And I want you to take at least 10 seconds to really reflect on this statement. Someone sitting in the shade today. Someone is sitting in the shade. When? Today. Are we not sitting in the shade? We are, right? Because someone planted what? When? Long time ago. The question is, what tree are you planting for Malawi 2063? Seated where you are. What is the tree that should give the shade for someone kutsogolo? That's the reflection that we must have. And by the way, the vision is inclusive. It means and we need to ask ourselves a question. That's I'm creating wealth. When I invest in those kind of plots, I'll hire people to work. I'm creating jobs. There shouldn't be anyone sitting around without investing in the vision of Malawi. Because that's where we are all going. Next slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andrew Jamali, who hasn't been inspired. Have we been inspired? Let's give him another round of applause. I hope in the next analysis, just through this talk, so the pillar number 1, yeah, mindset change. I'm sure we've been challenged, we've been inspired, and we've been given that reflection task, which I hope we are all going to be doing. And most lecturers, especially from the School of Business and Economic Sciences, titokoze fande mafuso amaiso apezeka. Apezeka nditu. And the semester hasn't ended. My assignment is so apezeka. My topic ama dissertation on what I want to see the usage of mobile banking naso. My topic at dissertation is so apezeka. So may I call the dean? Poti kumalawi kuno pamwambo athu mlendo sumango mulandira manja. So the executive dean of the School of Business and Economic Sciences has got a small token of appreciation to our guest lecturer. There's more powerful stuff coming. May I now invite Dr. Tsakama to give us a presentation. For those of you who don't know him, he's the head of research and innovation here at MUBAS. Welcome, Dr. Tsakama.
Good morning. I know we are getting towards lunch. I know. And I don't want to be a stumbling block between you and your lunch. So I'll try as much as possible to do this as quickly as I can. But first, let me recognize the in here of Dr. A very good friend and colleague of mine, but also the executive dean of the School of Engineering, Professor Gandawire, who is this morning representing the Vice Chancellor. The executive dean of the School of Business and Economic Sciences, Dr. Rabia Hanif, our officiating clergy, Reverend Ibanga. We appreciate your presence in here, but also the Director of Ceremonies, all academic heads present in here, my fellow members of staff, students, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation this morning, after such a powerful presentation, I was about to say, Banjineo Zangas in Disabangi. But it's on the program, so we just have to do it. Basically, this presentation is just to check what we are doing as MUBAS, if we are aligning to Malawi's vision. That's basically what we want to do. So, you are going to question whether, as MUBAS, we are maybe kufika where we are supposed to be in as far as the vision is concerned. So I'll try as much as possible to do this in probably 15 minutes. We are going to talk about the MUBAS strategic pillars because we want to have a background of where our research in terms of aligning ourselves to Malawi 2063 is coming from. But we're also going to talk about the interventions, research support, research funding, outputs, and what we would want to do moving forward. So, as a matter of background, for those of us that have been around for quite a while, you agree with me that when we were under the University of Malawi, issues of research, issues of innovation did not receive adequate attention. We were in there, but we did not do enough as colleges under the University of Malawi in as far as research and innovation. And therefore, when delinking came, it provided us with an opportunity to do things differently. And indeed, we started doing things differently. And this kind of opportunity that I'm talking about was with respect to how we looked at research and how we looked at issues of innovation. And as a university, we chose to say we would want to be a university that is well known for being an engaged university, a university that is research intensive, innovative. So for those of you that know the vision of the university itself, you align with what I just said in here. So we chose to say, let us engage ourselves in research that is, first of all, relevant. Secondly, research that is innovative. And thirdly, we wanted to make sure that the research that is going to be conducted in the corridors of the university is sustainable. So delinking one way or the other provided us that kind of opportunity. But then, looking at the strategic pillars of the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, you will note that whatever I'm going to discuss with you today did not just come by accident. It was well thought through. So in terms of the strategic pillars, you look at the second one, research comes in there. The third one, there is resource mobilization. For some of you maybe don't know, but research is one way of mobilizing resources. And then you look at the fifth one, there is innovation and entrepreneurship, very key aspects. So all I'm trying to say is research and innovation is at the heart of MUBAS. It is at the heart of the MUBAS as outlined in its 6 strategic pillars. So what kind of interventions did the university think to bring on board to make sure that we cover these pillars? So it was divided actually into 2 portfolios, the research portfolio as well as the innovation portfolio. So we'll not talk about the innovation component today. This is where you find the Unipo, the Design Studio, all these other entities that support and foster innovation. So today, we are going to focus much on the research component. And this is where you find units like the Research Support Unit, as well as the Research Ethics Committee. So as a university, this is what we chose to go with. Research on one hand, and innovation on the other, as our 2 main portfolios. So, what guides us? By the way, I did not even have a look at Dr. Jamali's presentation, and he can attest to that. But this is exactly what guides us as a university. So when we are coming up with, be it research topics, for some of you, especially members of staff, we recently had the grant core. If you read through that grant core, you realize that these issues are key. The MUBAS Act, MIP1, as well as Malawi 2063, the National Research Agenda, as well as our own strategic plan. These are the issues that guide our research here at the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences. So all I'm trying to say is, if you're coming up with a research topic, can you make sure that it is within or it aligns with these strategic documents? I was a little bit disappointed when Dr. Jamali asked the question, how many of you know MIP1? I was really disappointed because if you're a student and you haven't gone through MIP1 and you go around town looking for a research topic, that's very sad. Because if you had read MIP1, there are a lot of gaps. There are a lot of researchable areas, a lot. More so if you're a PG student and you don't find a topic to research on, yet you haven't gone through MIP1, that's pretty sad, honestly. Go through MIP1, cover to cover, you find out that this is a document that has been well written, and the gaps are very clear. And what we need to do is also very, very clear. And if we were able to just follow what is in MIP1, believe you me, our resources would be allocated most appropriately. This is one thing that I would want to encourage you. Let's take some time to read through these documents. Malawi 2063, MIP1, let's read them. They will save us one day. And when he was talking about being on interview panels, I also sit on panels. By the way, muna mkozo madabodu, ni makama panel onse AI, and tufeti maitanidwa, makampani, ma organization kukaklaba interview panel. These are the very same questions that we ask. What do you know about MIP1? Nothing. And regulatory issues, but also post-award management. All these will be accessed from the research support unit. And this is the team you are going to find in the research support unit. Antone Gabune. Timachuza, also atungo chuza, timachuza Antone no demuga fika, ajibu sekererani. And Antonio Rakuzo would design effectively. So that's the support team that you are going to find in the research support unit. Let me briefly talk about the internal research grant. As a university, we have deliberately put aside for this year, for example, 450 million kwacha for research. 450 million. It's not a lot of money in as far as research is concerned, but I think it's a good start, considering that there was no such grant before. This is the first time we are doing it. 450 million. We received 22 applications, groups of members of staff. Just 22, can you imagine? 450 million. 22, but only 6 managed to get the grant. That's not good enough. And I think that's a lost opportunity. And I think we can do better. So, 450 million, and for each grant, it can go up to 50 million for over a period of, or for a period of up to 3 years. And that's not bad. So, what are we trying to encourage? We are trying to encourage collaborative research that is going to foster mentorship, but also professional development. I'll talk about this in a moment, because in terms of requirements, this research grant calls for groups. It's not individuals, it's groups that have to apply for this grant. And these groups, they will have to be led by either a professor, associate professor, or a senior lecturer who is in the currency of research. Who is, let me mark that, who is in the currency of research. And then membership has to be between 5 to 10, but in that composition, you need to incorporate junior researchers, early career researchers, but also there has to be a very good representation of women researchers. And then the areas. You see, number 4, it comes again. Gaps that are outlined in MIP1. SDGs, as well as the National Research Agenda. Anything outside this would not be funded. That's how we are trying to align ourselves to Malawi 2063, and more particularly to MIP1. Moving on, let me talk about external funders. In as far as MUBAS is concerned, who are our main external funders? So these are our main external funders. You can see that I've put USAID in red. There were about 2, if not 3 projects that we have lost out on with the withdrawal of USAID funding. And that's why USAID is in red, because next year and maybe 2 years to come, we will no longer be talking about USAID. But these are our major funders: EU, COD, Canada, UNICEF, FAO, you've got coming down to UNDP, Scottish Government, Bill and Melinda Gates. These are the major funders of research around MUBAS. So, all we are trying to say here is there are opportunities. but it's a matter of knowing how to exploit those opportunities. Where is research coming from in as far as the university is concerned? So all the schools in general are contributing. But there is one outstanding maybe center, Washtenaw, that contributes also a lot in terms of outputs. How do we maybe account for these outputs? Mostly is through publications. So in terms of numbers, most of the outputs are coming from the School of Science and Technology. So and that's a period of just 2 years, 2023 to 2025. SoBES, where are you? About 10%. Ziribwino or Ziribwino? Ziribwino. So maybe that's another point of reflection. What do to make sure that we push the bar a little bit higher as a school? Science and technology is pushing so much in terms of, I don't know whether it's a question of numbers, I'm not sure, but there is a lot of research that is happening under the School of Science and Technology. And I think you agree with me. Even if you go to the staff research repository, you find out that most of the papers that have been published there, they are coming from the School of Science and Technology. But this research in which thematic areas now? So most of them are coming from water resources. I don't know. Water is something very, very easy to research on. That's one thing that I've noted around this place. There is a lot of research that's coming from water issues. Environmental sciences in there, engineering in there, chemistry, construction, geochemistry, and then there is business and finance at 8%. Tiri busy ndi premier beti mamoto tizipanga research. Business and finance. I think we can do better again from there. Where do we deposit our outputs? So as a university, if you go to the MUBAS website, on the far right, there is a tab there, publications. This is where you are going to find all the staff research outputs that have been published. But for theses and dissertations, again, next to that tab, just to the left, you will find theses and dissertations. You will land on this page. So all the theses and dissertations that have been done and have been published, you'll be able to access them from here. Moving on, we are now in the process of making sure that we also keep undergraduate research outputs. They may not be as important in terms of maybe the outside consuming public, but for our internal processes, this information is very, very important. One of the reasons I would give you is there are times when a research topic is repeated several times and you don't even know. Or there are times when, as a student, you pick a topic and they will tell you that one was already done 2 years ago. So this is why we would want to make sure that we house all the student research outputs in terms of reports, in terms of abstracts. We are going to keep them here. This is work that is in progress. This is not for public consumption, it's for our own internal processes. We have started doing this, and I think we have done it for the School of Engineering as well as the School of Science and Technology. We have piloted with year 2022 and year 2023. So all the student reports from the research that they did from years 2022 and 2023, you find them on this repository. Moving forward, As I finish, we as a university would like to come up with a grant management policy. This is a very key document because it's going now to determine how we manage our grants. There are good practices out there that other universities are following, and we are missing out on that because we don't have a clear policy on how grants should be managed at the university. We are also coming up with a research strategy, and I think Dr. Jamali, we have been to your office trying to consult, and we will come again and again. Executive deans, we've been to your offices trying to consult on this one, and we'll come to make sure that we finalize this process, because we also need to have our own research strategy as a key guiding document on how research should be conducted at MUBAS. Thirdly, we would want to strengthen our research support team in as far as grant management is concerned. Right now, we are engaged with the Southern Africa Research and Innovation Management Association, SARIMA, on a project that is trying to achieve that, strengthening capacity. But also, we would want to make sure that we enhance the way we solicit opportunities. When opportunities come for grants, these opportunities don't just appear from the heaven. We need to subscribe, to make sure that we are able to access these opportunities. And that's what we would want to do. And also, further to that, we would want to make sure that we have mailing lists. These mailing lists are to make sure that we target people that are relevant in as far as that grant call is concerned. It doesn't make any sense maybe sharing a grant call to everybody. There are people that just don't care about research. Yes? So if they don't care, then it's not fair to bother them with calls. So we would want to make sure that those that are interested should subscribe, so that when these calls come in, we should be able to target them. And then we would want to have more trainings, and that is to make sure that we now put matters into practice. And finally, we applied for the grant, good finance grant practice, good finance grant practice, GFGP. This one is an accreditation certificate that you get as a way of showing that you can manage good and big grants. So the moment we are able to get that accreditation, it is proof enough to say MUBAS can manage big grants. And that way we are going to be very, very attractive. You can reach us by that email address. Please, let's have a chat, let's talk. There are so many things that you maybe you have been struggling with in as far as research is concerned, but there is a space. There is an opportunity that you can talk to some other people that have been in the business for quite a while and should be able to come up with solutions to the problems that you are currently going through. Thank you very much. A hand, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tsakama. I'm sure we can give him a much bigger round of applause. So I hope this stirs up more of your interest in research. You have to be people that are interested in research, even if you don't want to become academicians. More and more organizations are appreciating research. I know organizations that are not academic, purely commercial, that are actually now setting up research units. So we have to take a key interest in research. We are behind schedule, but I'm sure we can still take a few questions because there's a lot that has been presented. I hope we were listening. Nthawi yokuti nafeso timvekepo ndinoyo tifuse kufuso. So I think you can raise your hand, a mic will be given to you. So if someone asks a question that you were going to ask, or similar to what you're going to ask in the interest of time, you can just say yeah, so that you must not repeat the same question. You can just nod wherever you are to say, this person has asked what I wanted to ask, so that we mustn't have maybe 2-3 questions that are the same. So can we have questions on what has been presented? So we have 2 hands, one at the back and one right here, and there's a third one there. So we'll take those 3. You can start, and then we'll head to this lady over there, and then, yeah.
Okay, my question is on MYP1. Let's see on the part that Dr. Jamali said that some projects are on track, and it was presented that it's 44% of projects. Surely these projects might pay on agriculture. For instance, there's introduction of mega farms where things like a good number of tractors were procured so that things can go smoothly, and we have also increased on education. But at the same time, we have been having some setbacks like cyclones, which have been distracting these farms and the like. On thing number 2, we have economic issues as a part of this 44%, which is on track of projects. On the economic issues, we had a projection that by 2025, GDP was going to rise by 4%. But come January this year, it was revised that it has to be 3.2%. Looking at these 2 issues, we can then conclude that, yes, the 44% on track is an increase. But if we can look at it critically, it's an increase in a decreasing manner. So, Dr. Andrew Jamali, there at National Planning Commission, what are you trying to do so that this increase in a decreasing manner can be dealt with? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the question. Let's have 2 more questions. As the questions are being taken, can we have someone assist to bring the chairs forward for the panelists? Just the chair, okay, thank you.
Okay, my name is Felix Mwalwali, BBA3. So my question goes directly to Dr. Andrew Jamali. So my first question is, you being the research manager at National Planning Commission, what lessons have you learned from other African countries in implementing the long-term development plans, and how is this shaping the Malawi 2063 research approach? The second question is, how is the National Planning Commission ensuring that Malawi 2063 remains a continuous and actionable strategy beyond political transition? Thank you.
Thank you. Then we can have one more question, I think, from the young lady. She's sitting right here.
My name is Mona Lisa Keida, and I'm from BX2. My first question is, we have this country in Africa, it's called Seychelles. It gained independence on June 29, 1976, which is a decade from the time that we gained independence. We have minerals such as uranium, gold, copper, diamond, nickel, monazite, and rutile, among others. Seychelles has only clay, coral, sand, and stone, and it is also the smallest country in Africa. So how come that we, with all that potential, are the 3rd poorest country in Africa, and Seychelles, even though they have little resources, are the richest country in Africa? And the second question is that since 1964, we have been depending on agriculture, and our staple food has always been maize. However, the soils of Malawi are naturally poor and nutrients and organic matter have been depleted further due to unsustainable farming practices. We haven't gotten anywhere with agriculture in 60 years since that time up until now. So how are we sure that agriculture will do so much in 38 years up until 2063 if we couldn't achieve anything with it in 60 years?
Thank you very much. I think I hand over to you, Dr. Jamali, to take the 3 questions.
Thank you so much, colleagues, for those brilliant questions. I'm really happy to see that you're really applying yourself to the presentation and asking questions that we should really focus on and address together. But they've been specific to me. First one was about what are we doing to address the implementation challenges. I've summarized that one. You're looking at the stats that are showing that we're not making so much progress in terms of operationalizing the vision against our targets. What are we doing about it? So I spoke in one of the slides about the accelerator program, which is about ATM and M. So within the MIP1 prioritized interventions, there's been a prioritization of agriculture, tourism, and manufacturing, as well as mining. What we're doing as a commission is, first of all, to provide guidance on how, first of all, on what strategic interventions in agriculture should be in focus. So let me be precise about that. So when you look at agriculture, Malawi's agriculture is predominantly subsistence, isn't it? But we're saying that we want to commercialize our agriculture sector and make it much more productive so that it generates wealth. How do we do that? So if you look at the ATM strategy, the agriculture, the first pillar is talking about 3 key interventions. The first one is to augment irrigation agriculture. Now, this irrigation agriculture is not just for everyone. Irrigation is an investment, am I right? In fact, if you are to rely on Chitsime, it will be very cumbersome for you to really irrigate a 500 hectare field, isn't it? So, first things first is to invest in irrigation. And how is the government doing that? First of all, we must identify capable farmers or individuals that are able to manage an irrigation investment. Now, if you look at the Mega Farm Initiative, it's actually strategic in nature. Although there are all those kind of political undertones about making sure that local farmers or household farmers are accessing such kind of facilities, but the targeting, in as far as the vision is concerned, is for large-scale commercial farming. Now, for the sake of inclusivity, how are we driving that agenda? We are encouraging cooperative farming. Now, cooperative farming is like this particular role here, aggregating their land parcels together, pulling out their implements together, and managing the farm together as a unit. And then we link these kind of structures with what we call aggregators or big anchor farms, the likes of Presken, the likes of Ntalimanja Holdings, amene agalandira chimanga gabena strategic crops which we have targeted like rice, sesame, the oil seeds, zimene zili ni ndrama kunjako. Agabanga farm iwowa, they will actually aggregate, they will be aggregated in their Ntalimanja Holding, who have got access to local and international markets that will make these guys still operate, even at a time where they have suffered a blow on the farm. That's the first strategy. So enhancement of irrigation through investment in cooperative farming. Now, paliso alineena, onena kuti they have got big farms, estate owners. The kind of support those guys would require would be different from these kind of guys, right? Chifua wawando saukirako, no sauka guys, Kuma wawando ujepekedwerapo. Kuta abeze equipment ya irrigation they require government. Demo beza kuti even for managing ya farm kumunda kuja kutipula chanchan boma la bwesa tractorization project. The idea is to help these kind of cooperatives that can be supported to tiru landija at a bigger scale and use it win. So boma likupanga target in a segmented approach like that. I know kunena kuti palima commercial entities gata chinairovu okuti amalima kale mizimbe, but we are also layering those ones in the private sector to not only focus on their strategic, business-oriented kind of, crops like sugarcane. So sometimes their farms lie foul yeah, timati fallow it, sakugwiritsa ntchito. Pa nthawi imene sakugwiritsa ntchito ija, they can lend it out to these kind of guys. So those conversations are going on. Apanga lend kuma cooperatives, or we hire them kuti apange produce certain strategic crops that can be used for higher production and export. The idea ndionena kuti we should be not only targeting subsistent cropping ngati chimanga, koma tiyang'ane ma crops ena ngati nine naja china ma oil seeds, cotton, enhancement ya ma crops ngati amene aja amene ali ma stronger value chains, so that we can also enhance productivity ya ma crops amenewa. Tikazipanga manage zimene zili kwambiri kuzipanga crop kwambiri, tigulitsa misika. Once we sell into misika ya kunja, there are so many markets out there that have been open to Malawi, right? Tizipeza forex. Tikamapeza forex, those kind of money, awawa with their small families, azilandira kusoma returns. So those are some of the initiatives that we are doing in the agriculture sector to augment. There is also what we call agro-processing. You know, kuti kulima crops osiyana-siyana amene tingathe kuwapanga process, you know that, right? Ntedza chani kuti tizipange processes zimene zifike pa ma standards onena kuti out there we can actually sell and make so much money on them. So we are also looking at cooperatives that are specializing in what? Agro-processing, right? Just agro-processing. There are others that will also be specializing in seed production. Just a cooperative that is not only looking at kupanga chakudya but also just producing seeds. Zona razigulisa ma seasons. You heard that season yanyaka chinojo ma seeds anavuta, mbewu ya chimanga munamva. It's because ma seed growers anajepa. So anthu ophunzira ngati inuyo and those others, I know some guys from Bunda anapanga company after graduating, they are producing seeds. Big guys, alibatali. Ndepaliso company yake imapanga irrigation equipment. Mafana pa Bunda pomwepo. So we are promoting such kind of things and supporting them. How do we support as government? We ask them, good, okay, how can you optimize your production? So government will be linking them up to special purpose vehicles and export development funds support my institution, my initiative so that they can scale up. In scaling up, they are enhancing productivity at the same time providing jobs for who? People like you. So that's what government is actually pushing forward in the next program ya ATM. Right? What lessons have we learned on Africa, highlighting other African countries? Okay, as a research manager. Right, so Minute Mabanga developed Vision, we had to do some kind of studies. So we did some desk research. We also had some consultations with other national planning entities of other countries, like Zambia, South Africa, Indonesia. Is it? I think it was in the Far East. I can't remember. Botswana, we engaged with them, right? The idea was to look at their visions and also check how they performed previously and learn from those kind of things. So my strategies are now, they are actually informed by what has been proven to work in other contexts out there. There is one different aspect to consider in that. A strategy might work in the same context, the operational tools, which is you and me. Because you can get a proper strategy out there as a context, macroeconomic situation, environment, whatever, equipment that supplies, but the doers are the people who make decisions to say, and that is the challenge that has been in the context of Malawi. And again, my resources. The resources have been so dear. Most of the traditional donors are pulling out, not because of the USAID, even before USAID. Donors have been always shrinking their resource bases. They are actually tired of helping us. That's why we need to start augmenting our productivity to support ourselves. So we learned such kind of lessons, so much so that now as we are propelling this vision into your mindset as students, is to actually practice and try out some of these initiatives, even whilst you are in Muli College. For example, the financial sector. Financial sector ndio yosafuna so muntu kudajide kufutika. Mwapeza 200,000 kwa jaina yake munamenya matja zanu zijaza premier bet zija. Mama mukota akakujeso kachiwiri kumene njoka kaipanga invest. Buy my shares 200,000. Ugulati my shares for 3 years. Imene jaya mazadi kufika after 3 years. It will not be the same price. Munamvaza ujeni chani company jaya bank ija NBS. Kuti funds inage na gula my shares go NBS. Within 1 year the value of the shares double. That's how it works. Financial sector ndio savuta kupanga nayo jani drug. But you also must be careful because financial sector ima kaso volatile mokuti mata kupanga crash. Ikapanga crash misozi yake sio sima kala masewera ya. Okay? But as an investor you don't have to be risk averse, right? When you got to muzipanga invest kumapanga try out those kind of things, right? How do we initiate Malawi 2063 beyond political transition? I've already spoken about that. Malawi 2063 has already, as a vision document, has already been insulated from political interference. I know the question is how practical is that? Because even now we hear some of the projects. So we know this is kupangidwa pa podium. Check. Akama inena project manager. Amakota iwere gagale kuti iri mugalo mu Malawi 2063 panopa. Okay? So when something of an announcement like that has happened, check. Kodi ichi chipanga fall under what pillar? And mupira what is the prioritized mukapita ku MIP 1 mupeza kuti the interventions have been structured. MIP 1 in the operationalization documented. So they are game changers, flagships, prioritized interventions, so much so that my projects are implemented, they are falling into those kind of ranks. So the insulation is that every political party that is to contest on 16th September will have undergone a process of scrutiny and got a certificate from National Planning Commission to participate in the election on account of having their manifesto aligned to the national vision. Ndetima kuti muone email yanga papa kwa bidaga wandiponyera legal council watu some other urgent parties now. Even if you want to contest your manifesto, will have to scrutinize it as well. There are people that are contesting as individuals. It's your right. You can do that, right? The idea is, if you align and you are certified, you have gone into a legal contract with the state, that when you are doing something contrary to usher into government, we can invoke the constitution to say this is wrong. Sisi mene munatani kodi munalonjeza kuti muchita manifesto. Zikusiyana ndi masompenya adziko lino. Seychelles in the dziko laling'ono, it's got all those amenities. It's a willpower. I mean, look. Having resources is not development in itself, but using them. Am I right? If Seychelles is doing that, it means they are using them. If there are investors coming into Seychelles, the deals that are striking with the nation state, with the government, are deals that are benefiting Seychelles as well. So we can have, I spoke about it. It's very discomforting to have a lake that is running all the way from the north to the south, and the distance from the east to the west is only 271 kilometers, which you can just put apart. Go to Benghazi in Libya. Mazao, they are coming from the what? Ocean. And they have got desalination plants. Why should we be struggling with irrigation? We have got a lake that God has blessed us for hundreds and millions of years with. And our rivers are there perennially running. So that's why you have heard about the Lilongwe Salima Waterway project. You've heard about that, yeah? The idea is to bring water that can go into places like even as far as Kasumu to supply irrigation systems. So we are making steps into that. But the issue, the answer to the question that you've asked, yes, by the way, you might want to ask geologists in this country, Malawi have got almost every other precious mineral that the world is looking for. Malawi has it. It may not be in good deposits, it may not be in good placements, but we do have them. Okay? Ma uranium onsewa, ina imwapeza muti ruta aerochan zama kumpira mafuna numpanga, ma dashboard ama galimoto, IT equipment and the like. We have that. But the issue is, when we are striking the deals with the companies that are to mine these kind of things, what kind of deals are we striking there? By the way, I'll be honest with you, mining is a very complex, very, very highly mining venture. You can talk about countries like Botswana who have been doing mining for almost 60 years. But when you go to Botswana, is it like Europe? Hello, I'm talking to you, my own Asoma movie. Right? It's not like Europe. It's a heavily contested space. So much so that when you are going there just with your bare hands and the product in the hands, don't expect to strike a proper deal in that. We need to enhance our energy infrastructure so that antamena jawa kabwera kuzabanga invest akanoti tukufuna energy ndozote iyi. Tukufuna ICT yokunoti tingatoma value tizipanga test ma minerals wa chanchan. Ichi MUBAS inatipangira ku Unipol. Tukufuna machine ona utazipanga crash ma grains au jeni ma minerals into this kind of shape. Ichi must inatipangira. That's why you investors are very critical in that space. The question is, are you positioning yourself for this kind of markets? Because that's a business, isn't it? Those guys are you are testing their samples and the like, you will charge them. So if you are going to make a deal with a business venture and mining with just forget it. They will rip us out. So we must invest, and that's why government is so critical about investing in mining and targeting these kind of sectors. We cannot go into mining value addition without science, technology, and innovations. The technology part is very, very important. Because to getting kind of equipment, you can respond to my demands and the world. My container bank is shaping Timiana Dija into crystal diamonds, Amazvala, Jada, Jandani, Dani, Mauna, Mutina. We need to do those kind of things. By the way, as we are jumping into that space, Mwabezasuma Kangaina Natanigale, Anafika Mugale minimum, Agunjanjanjanja. So the politics to manage that context requires a lot of innovation. That's why you guys must be thinking and reading hard about how you can support coming up with innovative ideas about that. Have I answered that question? Are we sure to augment what we do in 38 years? Okay, fine. That question is very good. If we have failed that agriculture, yatibanga fail for the past, manoti zingati assist. Mati agriculture kanika zaka zingati? 60 mate? 60 years. Agriculture sukudi akanika. We are not just optimal. Because agriculture kazakanika kunokoti kaninja. Crisis, national crisis. Panoba the njala that we talk about is just for certain pockets of the country. Chikwawa, Chan, and these guys are perennially like that because of the context in Minamakara, Umajidiga Mafladzi and the like. Okay? Njara Yajaga Jinojo has been influenced by cyclones. I mean, Yajaga Jinojo has been influenced in Dilani, Eronin Wajaga. But we are coming from a deficit. What 2023, right? And then the supply chain distribution to do with fertilizers and the like. Those are things that we must do. That's why government was actually looking at coming up with a fertilizer plant. Kuti samadali yotenga kutiko at least mozi ekatangu katudu panga produce konkunu urea ekai. We won't have to rely on ujeni ma countries that nyangena amina kumenya nkondo umabe mpaso to get fertilizer, you know. So issue don't know the investments, the interventions are getting there. Agriculture has not failed us, but we need to do more to support it. However, in doing more, Malawi's economy is now not just relying on what? Agriculture. If you look at the share of the agriculture GDP to the economy, it has been falling from 28%, if not 30%, some 5 years ago. Now it's almost 22%. The challenge is the falling of the share of agriculture contribution to GDP is not commensurate to economic growth, because my sectors amena banga take that share, the my service sectors amena banga drain my resources from the economy without returning back. I'll give you an example. Service sector, retail and supplies. Katundu yesamene tukumakana naye kumavala zovala zathu zambiri nzojogera kuchani kunja. So it means we are draining our forex kumanga gula zinthu kunja kumaza gulisa muno. That's not how we should be. So the fall in the share of agriculture to the economy must be commensurate to other sectors that are also productive enough. Kunoti share major kamapita ukuku ikalili kupanga so augment macroeconomic fundamentals kuti kubelesa forex, higher productivity, value addition and all those kind of things. So that's what we need to be doing. And that's what government, through MIP1, is also taking baby steps into it. I'm saying baby steps because as a country, we are battling a lot of challenges. But we just have to face them because we have no choice. This is our country. I think in
thank you very much. Just apologies because we are somewhat behind schedule. Let's start with the panel discussion. So after the panel discussion, if we still have time, we are going to have a second, maybe one or two more questions. Let's hope through the panel discussion, some of the questions that we would have asked would have been answered. So the panel discussion will be by our students from the School of Business and Economic Sciences that are in various programs and various years of study. So can we have in front Emmanuel Mpakwe, Segerani Sempere, Ruben Banda, Tamandani Parapandu, Praise Jeke, Beatrice Dua, and Fred Nsoya. So those are our panelists. A round of applause, please. So, how much time should we give you? Now we're time. All right, we'll give our panelists a maximum of 15 minutes, but they have learned a lot of time management. Our hope is that they can even save us a few minutes. So I hope we'll not go out. They also have something important to share with us. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thank you. We are here for the panel discussion, and I'm Ruben Banda, fourth year student doing business administration. So since we have a limited time, I'll ask for your attention so that you should be attentive to get what our dear panelists have brought for us in this afternoon. So since we are time conscious, it will be in brief, and every presentation will be in brief. So we'll start, okay, according to the Malawi Vision 2063, yes, exactly. Thank you for the correction. So according to Malawi 2063, we are here to explain to you, to discuss with you the role of the youth. We are the youth. That's why we are also invited here, so that we should understand our role. That what is our role in ensuring that Malawi 2063 is achieved. So we'll focus on the enablers, which are 7 of them. So we'll start with mindset change, which is the first enabler, and the second one, which is effective governance system and institutions. So, yes, praise. Can we hear from you, or so that we should see how we're going to do about it?
Good afternoon. So I'm Praise Jacob, presenting to you mindset change. So I'll talk about the role of the youth in achieving Malawi 2063. As the youth, we have a role to bring in mindset change, whereby we are trying to look for a positive perspective in everything. As we are doing everyday endeavors, we have to be positive about everything and try to see what new thing we can bring in. We have to promote a spirit of entrepreneurship, whereby we should try to be innovative and creative, in a sense that when we present our issues to the world, they should see goody, we have something new in it, and it will benefit everyone. We have to bring in a mindset that will serve the best interest of everyone. We just don't have to be presenting things that will only benefit us. We have to benefit everyone, to have to serve the interest of the community. And on effective governance, we have to always make sure that we are operating, we are running our things by the rule of law. We have to make sure we don't twist the laws. Sometimes people will twist the law to make sure that it favors them. But we should always make sure that we are complying with the laws as they are. We don't twist them. And we have to be engaged. As the youth, sometimes we just leave things to say, that is for the government, they will do it, we don't have to take part. But in this time, we have to change our mindset, we have to change our perspective. We should be more involved. We should make sure that we're being engaged in everything. We should be more open and more transparent. In that sense, we'll be able to achieve the Malawi 2063. I'll quote what my marketing lecturer will always write at the end of his slides, Mr. Hekete. He'll always say that what it takes to be a great piece is one step ahead. It starts with you. You should start and others should follow you what you have started. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That was our discussion rather on mindset change and effective governance systems and institutions. So my fellow panelists, according to what our friend has discussed or has shared with us this afternoon, do we have any addition point, or maybe just to add, so they should be more understandable?
All right. My name is Sigaran Semperi. Just to add what you have said, it's good for us to change our mindset, because it all begins in the mind. So we should see the Malawi as our own, not for someone else who's a civil servant or who is in government. So it's our own, changing the mindset. We should have more, as she has already said, having the mind of an investor, having the mind of a producer, having a different mind that shall make sure Malawi 2063 goal is achieved. Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Maybe very quickly, my name is Emmanuel Mpakwe. Just to add, mindset change starts with us. You know, it's very unfortunate finding others, they haven't even laid the vision. And others, the youth, they don't even know. And the others who doesn't even believe in the vision. So it's a mindset change. We should change that mindset because we are the ones that are going to witness it. So it starts with the mind. Yeah, thank you very much.
So thank you very much, my fellow panelists. I hope it's very clear to the youths because they're saying that this vision, we have to have a mindset which says it starts with me. It starts with us, the youth. We're not waiting for someone. We're not waiting for those who have high positions already or waiting for the government. That is not the mindset. Because with that mindset, then we'll just be where we are, waiting for someone to give us everything. So that's the mindset change. Both in the, let's say, an example of the rule of law and everything, we have to make sure that we are following all that, and we have to have this new mindset to witness the vision, Malawi 2063. So can we hear on the second and the third enabler from Sekerani Sempere on enhanced public sector performance and private sector dynamism? Yes, Emmanuel.
Good afternoon once again. The third and the fourth enabler of Malawi 2063 is enhanced public sector performance as well as improving private dynamism. So when we look at the public sector, we are looking at the judicial legislation, the executive, the civil servants. We are looking at that. But we have a bigger role as the youth that we have to play. I know most of you have heard of National Youth Council. So I'll say something about policy making, because that policy making, it's going to drive us to the private sector. As the youth, we have that responsibility that we have to be part of the policies, because if we are not careful, those policies will affect us. Most of the time we complain that the interest rates that we are charged are so much for the grants or the loans that we're given, because we're not part of the interest. We're not part of the policies that the government makes. So I would urge, not just the National Youth Council, we need to have more councils than that, who have to have a say in whatever policy the government is saying. Because when you look at 2063, we have a bigger law. And that law that the youth has to take, it also has to start with the policies that the government makes. We have to have a say. Whatever the government is making, whatever it is being said there, we have to be part of it. In addition to that, so far the problem that has been faced in the public sector has always been corruption. There's always been corruption in civil service. So we are living in a digital world. We are living in an information age whereby we have to come up with ideas, brilliant ideas. For example, you can look at integrated systems. We can look at ideas which can help to make those who are working in the civil service to be accountable, to be transparent. When we question that the economy is not doing well, or the budget, the way it has been apportioned here, it hasn't been apportioned where we have to release my facts, the digits and the figures, that this is where it is long, this is where it is long. It will give them that mindset that the youth are following whatever we are doing, so that we have to be accountable, we have to be transparent. On private sector dynamism, what I'll just say is that we are looking at the enterprises, we are looking at businesses, we are looking at investors, we are looking at large corporations. So as the youth, she said about mindset, it starts with the mind. We need to develop that investing, that producer mindset. There was once an economist who said that if Malawi is exporting more goods, it means it will bring more forex. We won't have the problems of economy. So we need to have that producer mindset, that employer mindset. Because when we look at school is producing more employees rather than employers. So we are tackling the problem of unemployment. When you have that employer mindset, we are also contributing towards the GDP and the production rate. In so doing, we shall see that Malawi is improving its sustainable growth towards the vision 2063. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Segan Sempere. So that's very true. We are the youth. We are learning now, but after now, where are we going to? Some will go to the private sector, and some will go to the private sector. In the public sector, let's have that mindset of improving the efficiency and productivity. and effectiveness. And in the private sector, we as the youth have a role to ensure that there is high quality service and product delivery to develop Malawi. So let's have another discussion on human capital development from Tamandani, but we have to be time conscious since we have a limited time. Thank you. Yes, Tamandani, human capital development.
Good afternoon. On human capital development, this enabler emphasizes on investing in people through quality education, nutrition, skills, and jobs. So as young people, we are the driving force to achieve this vision, Malawi 2063. So some of the ways we can achieve this is through education and skills development, having the innovation and entrepreneurship mindset, promoting good health through awareness, and another thing is gender equality and social inclusion. In conclusion, this vision is not only for the government, it's for us young people. We are the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders now to take part in this human skills development.
So thank you very much, Tamandani. That's very true. That's why the vision is referred to as a youth-centric vision. Because as up to 2018, the population of the youth was about 51%. So we can see that this is more than half of the population. So please, let us take note of the role, our role in ensuring Malawi Vision 2063. And can we have another discussion on economic infrastructure by Emmanuel Mpakwe?
Thank you very much. Let me start by citing what the vision says. It says, we shall have a globally competitive economic infrastructures that will promote domestic economic activity and spur foreign direct investments for wealthy creation. So remember, the vision is to create a wealthy and a self-reliant nation, which will be in the middle upper economy country. So if you're looking for that, our mind should now go to economic, but then in the sector infrastructure. So this is now the key enabler to the inclusive wealth creation. We include sectors like energy, ICT, roads, railway, let's just transport. So now let's look at the youth. What is our role now in achieving this goal? So let's start with energy. As the youth, we can be champions in adopting the renewable energy sources like solar. Right now we only have ESCOM as the provider for energy, mostly on electricity. So if we, the youth, we can figure out something. In MUBAS, we innovate, we create, we generate. Where can we have graduates thinking about getting into the energy sector? So this is our goal, this is our vision. We should be ahead. That thing is on the energy efficiency, energy access. As the youth, we can help expanding energy access to rural and undeserved areas. Right now, I quoted when he was presenting, he said over 60% are poor. But then the youth can figure out something of, let's take energy to the rural areas. Quickly, transport infrastructure development. Youth can contribute to the development and maintenance of transport infrastructures such as roads, bridges, railways, and even the airports. Let's think of our airports. Whenever we are graduating from the various departments, let's think of improving our road systems. And lastly, agriculture on irrigation infrastructures. As the youth, we can contribute to the development and maintenance of irrigation system, enhancing agricultural productivity. That way, we are going to improve our food security. We are going to do this, the youth. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Emmanuel Mpagwe. That was a discussion on economic infrastructure, which is a sixth enabler. Can we have quickly a discussion by Beatrice Dua on the very last enabler, which is environmental sustainability?
The last one, it is environmental sustainability. So in the context of the Malawi 2063, it aims at providing clean, secure, and safe environment through sustainable management of natural resources such as waste, proper waste disposal, air and water management. So let me take you through the roles of the youth. The first one is afforestation and reforestation. As this year, as per 2024-2025, there was only 40 million trees which were planted, but each and every year, according to statistics, approximately 75 million trees are cut down. So, arising at a deficit of 34 million trees which need to be replaced. So, this is the role of the youth. Since the government has failed to accomplish this, so it should start with us in one person. So the next point, it is proper waste disposal. It involves reusing, recycling, and reducing of waste. For example, as the UNIPOD, as the Center of Innovation, it introduced a plant that compresses the non-biodegradable waste that are converted into tiles that are used in building. So as the youth, we have to invest, or we have to be aware of that knowledge so that after time we can be able to invest in the companies that produce those things. For example, the plastics and other things can be used to make plates and plastic plates or cups and other things. So the last one, it is alternative. We have to develop alternative sources of energy, and according to the national statistics, it says that approximately 90% of the people use firewood and charcoal as their major source of fuel. So we as the youth, we have to take an action and develop other alternatives. For example, the biodegradable waste can be converted into biogas. We can produce biogas for cooking, heating, and lightening, which can be the better replacement for electricity. And also, we can use the solar energy just to supplement the irrigation. This one, it can draw water from the ground and irrigate crops. Just imagine during this year, we met drought conditions. So to replace this, using this system, the solar energy system, it can draw water from the ground and irrigate crops, just like maybe a person or a farmer can grow 3 times a year. Just imagine growing 3 times a year, maybe for 1 acre. You can conserve or preserve 20 bags for eating or 30 bags for eating, and the other one, you can sell them. Therefore, that was my end of the presentation.
So thank you very much, Beatrice, for the discussion on environmental sustainability. Because even if we ask ourselves who are contributing to this cutting of trees, we will find out that they are our parents, they are our relatives, they are close friends. So we as the youth, we have this role to ensure that we sensitize them. We tell them the effects of doing this. So with this mindset, we can really witness this Malawi 2063. So maybe one more comment on environmental sustainability. Then we'll finish.
Just to add, how many of you know Martin Manyoso? He was a student here, but you have seen how far he has gone with the Green City project. So it's something else has to do with environmental sustainability. People out there, outside the world, United Nations, WHO, they do observe. So as the youth, we need first to change our mindset. We have to come up with things that can conserve the environment. In so doing, we are not just improving our environment, we're not just making it sustainable, we are also finding ourselves opportunities. We are also finding ourselves links. So that in so doing, we cannot be going to the Lords demonstrating their employers. We can still find from the surrounding, from the environment, we can still find some projects, recycling things, planting trees, which can even enable those bigger people there outside the world to recognize and to see us. In that way, we are creating potential, not just for ourselves, even for the upcoming generation. Thank you very much.
So thank you, my fellow panelists, and thank you for the wonderful discussion. So I would lastly encourage you, my fellow youth, that we should go through the document Malawi 2063, so that we should understand the 3 pillars we have, all the enablers we have, so that we should be doing or practicing everything we're supposed to do, we as the youth, in line with what is outlined in the document. So thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to give us, the youth, our thoughts on Malawi 2063. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our panelists. You can take your seats, and much appreciation for sticking to the time. So thank you, Emmanuel, Segerani, Ruben, Tamandani, Praise, Beatrice, and Fred. We have come to the end of our program. Much appreciation for your patience. I know others have gone out. Here we have classes throughout the day, so even at 12:30 a class is starting. So I'm sure others had to go to class. But I should thank everyone for your attention, for being active. Apologies to those who wanted to ask further questions, but in the interest of time, we have to end our program.